Some NFL trade rumors coming up on today's show, but first, we are 9 subs away from 3,000 on our NFL Draft YouTube channel. Help us get there today, or we might just delete the whole damn thing. So go subscribe, youtube.com/chatNFL. Tom Downey here for NFL Daily by Chat Sports, breaking down the latest rumors on this Sunday for you guys. Heavy trade rumor focused as we're a month-ish away from the NFL draft, and still uncertainty reigns over the future of Lamar Jackson. Lamar has been linked mostly speculatively, but there's some semblance of, well, they haven't ruled it out reports yet from Indy and to the Colts this offseason. The real problem right now for Lamar, as the saga and the world of Lamar continues to turn, there's no real end game in sight. I don't know when. I don't know where. I don't know how things end up ending for Lamar Jackson. At some point, he's going to get paid, but when, by whom, and for what money is still very uncertain. There was also this report from this morning from Destin Adams, a Colts reporter. It says sources tell him a Colts plane had an extended stay in Baltimore this week. No reason has been given for the visit at this time, but something to monitor going forward. I know how that reads. We are somehow in flight tracker season for Lamar Jackson, who's in Florida right now. So I don't really think there's that much to read into. You might go, well, it means the Colts were talking to the Ravens about a trade, which could, I suppose, be true, although that would require the Colts and Lamar agreeing to a contract that the Ravens wouldn't match, and the Ravens agreeing to a different set of draft contracts, which I assume would be higher than the 2 firsts, because otherwise the Colts would just make the offer sheet. So it's a little weird. I wouldn't read much into that there. Plus, NFL owners' meetings in Arizona this upcoming week. So I don't think there's any correlation, but welcome to the Lamar Jackson saga, I suppose. I do think Indy makes sense. If they were of the mindset of they wanted Stroud or Bryce Young, or if they're even worried about a team jumping to 3 to take Anthony Richardson, you could start to have a scenario where maybe they would leak interest in Lamar, or this weird just don't take a quarterback at all and draft Hendon Hooker, which I think would be a horrible idea for Indy. There's also little downside right now in pursuing Lamar Jackson at this point. All of the excuses. Well, we don't want to spend money with our salary cap. Well, you're in almost April now. You've spent the cap you're going to spend, really. It's not going to preclude you from doing business. We don't want to alienate our young quarterback. Gardner Minshew is a backup anyway. So I do think there's little downside to the Colts seeing maybe Lamar can be our guy long term. I think that's a good exploratory conversation to have. You would just need to have it with Lamar and not whoever Ken Francis is, who we'll get to here in a little bit. So will Lamar be traded? I don't know what's going to happen. You guys predict for me in the comments at the pinned comment of today's video. Y for yes, he will. N for no, he will not. It is the pinned comments on today's video. So if an ad break comes here on YouTube, take advantage, head down there, and let me know. Let's talk about the whole agent thing. I'm a bit stuffy, so excuse me for that. My apologies. NFL teams were warned by the NFL/NFLPA to not talk to a person known as Ken Francis, a Florida man. It was like minus 650. There was going to be a Florida man who is an uncertified person trying to negotiate a contract for Lamar. Allegedly, Lamar said it's not true, that he was not talking to teams. And then he and Ken Francis announced their new at-home gym, which it's just a weird thing. And I do think the lack of an agent is a problem for Lamar Jackson. I don't think it has benefited him, because he's trying to get big-time money. And at minimum, it would have made for an easier process in the event of just having the agent to get that massive guarantee money. It'll be likely 200 plus. Now some saying he doesn't want fully guaranteed money. Might be some semantics in there. Lamar wants big, big money. Understandably so. He is just as worthy as what Deshaun Watson has got from the Cleveland Browns, because apparently it was okay to trade a bunch of picks and give Deshaun Watson a fully guaranteed deal, but teams have concerns over Lamar Jackson. Don't tell me it was just the Browns, by the way, because the Falcons and Saints were heavily in pursuit as well. So, weird Lamar Jackson saga with no end in sight. Speaking of no end in sight, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. The two sides appear to be no closer to a trade. And Rodgers had said on Pat McAfee, which feels like it was a month ago, even though it was only a week or two, the Jets are the Packers are holding up the conversation with the Jets because of their asking price. There's no real firm deadline beyond when Rodgers' $58.3 million option bonus has to be triggered and paid before the start of the 2023 season. So hypothetically, it could go until September. That would be a surprise. There is a different date that we'll get to that might make a little bit more sense. But first, Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, tampering? I guess not. Had this to say on Rodgers 2 years ago when we first got there about where we were and how far we've come. To have a guy like him want to play for us is pretty cool and shows how far we've come. We have a long way to go and a lot of work to do. I guess Saleh knows to appeal to the ego of Rodgers to help make sure that deal ends up going down. My concern is this could take a while. Both sides appear to be waiting in the leverage battle that's going on. The Jets might not want to give the first-round pick. The Packers are going to have a high asking price because I do think Green Bay has the leverage advantage, at least for now. Don't you want Rodgers in the organization sooner than later to build the chemistry and the offensive playbook, etc.? There's also this element. It does make more financial sense for Green Bay to trade Aaron Rodgers after June 1st. At that point, the dead money can be spaced out over 2 years. So instead of owing him $40 million this year, which is it's a sunk cost at this point, it is what it is. You were going to pay something similar if he was on your roster, so you're moving on, so be it. 15.8 though, with the extra money coming next year on the salary cap. And the Jets, meanwhile, they might want to wait until after the draft as well. They could keep their first round pick, which I do think Green Bay wants because, I mean, why wouldn't they be asking for that? So I think we'll see if anything new develops in the near future. It could come at any point. I don't think there would be a lot of buildup of, trade talks have resumed. They're having this conversation, having like 3 days of that. I think it's going to be, when it happens, it's going to be announced. There's not going to be a whole lot of known information about where the trade talk sits once they resume again. Seems like they're quiet right now. But it could last another couple of months, which is, it's something, man. So let's set the over-under at the NFL draft. Will the Packers trade Rodgers before or during, since it would be done before the Jets pick in the first round or second round, whenever. So before the NFL draft is BD. After the NFL draft is AD. Go predict when that deal inevitably gets done in the comments section. Heavy trade rumors have continued to percolate around one Jerry Jeudy. Those trade rumors seem unlikely to stop anytime soon. The Denver Broncos are clearly shopping Jerry Jeudy, but they have a first-round asking price because he played better last year. Down the stretch, they wanted a second and change. The Chase Claypool trade messed things up. Then Jalen Ramsey went for a little, and so did Brandon Cooks, and Elijah Moore kind of went for a decent price point. So the wide receiver market is very weird at this point. If a deal does get done, maybe it's closer to the NFL draft, just like the A.J. Brown trade went down for Tennessee and for Philly. So where will Jerry Jeudy play in 2023? Get those predictions in for me in the comments section right now. The stats for Jeudy were better in 2022, but Denver appears, at least at minimum, to be open to trading one of their big-time pieces. Jeudy, fifth-year option is due a few days after the NFL draft. I assume you would pick that up because he had almost 1,000 yards last year. Denver right now has some playmakers at wide receiver. Tim Patrick, Cortland Sutton, both on the rosters right now. KJ Hamler also on the team. They've shopped Sutton, allegedly. That's been the rumor out there. I think he would cost a little bit less, but Denver was linked to receivers like Allen Lazard. They were in the mix for those guys. My suspicion here is that Sean Payton went to overhaul the wide receiver room in his image. That is certainly possible. It is a bit of a retooling in Denver with Sean Payton heavily involved, of course, despite George Payton being the GM, technically speaking. I think you'll see more rumors around Denver. I think they're actually in pretty good shape at wide receiver. It's why it's weird to me. I think they want picks. Maybe Jeudy can fetch them that, but if the asking price remains the same, maybe he just sticks around in Denver for the time being.